Greetings, Slackers. It's December 16th, 2016, and I'm over here on the newsreview.com. And this is a follow-up, part two to a video that I just did on court documents. Backpage CEO allegedly knew about child trafficking. Site made 99% of ad revenue, from the sex ads. And so it goes on to state here, this ad is about Kamala Harris, upstaged by Backpage. Sacramento judge dismisses Attorney General's case against online classified portal. This was going on right before the national election for the presidency. You had a lot of little elections, people, jockeying for positions, trying to go from your state attorneys to Senate and so forth. And so right here, so Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of the state of California. And so to get a little notoriety and to help boost herself so she could get the Senate seat, she sort of brought this case against Backpage, knowing that sort of nothing was really going to happen. And so here's what the article states. Rejecting the state's case that three men were running an online human trafficking business, a Sacramento County judge dismissed all charges against Backpage.com. Senior corporate officers Carl Ferrer, Michael Gerard Lacey, and James Anthony Larkin last Friday. The December 9 written ruling from Sacramento Superior Court, Judge Michael Bowman, dealt California Attorney General Kamala Harris a stinging defeat shortly before she leaves office to join the ranks of U.S. Senate next month. In a statement mailed to SNR, Harris said she was extremely disappointed in the decision and that her office was exploring all legal options. Harris's office presided over a 3-year investigation into the operation of Backpage, an online classified portal similar to Craigslist. Unlike Craigslist, though, Backpage still charges users to post ads in its adult services section, which the state claims functions as a poorly disguised prostitution clearinghouse. In its criminal complaint, the California Department of Justice, the investigative arm of Harris' office, identified 9 victims who were engaged in paid sex acts that were advertised in veiled terms on the site and sometimes reposted on 2 offshoots, evilempire.com and bigcity.com. The victims include 5 minors, 2 of whom were contacted during sting operations after posting escort ads in Sacramento County. All 3 defendants shared a felony charge of conspiring to commit the crime of pimping, while Backpage CEO Ferrer faced 9 additional counts, 4 for pimping a minor. Defense attorney argued their clients were protected by the First Amendment and a section of the Communications Decency Act, which says online content providers aren't responsible for the actions of third-party users. In short, a website like Twitter isn't legally liable for something one of its users does. While the CDA protects content providers who create an online forum for third-party speech, that shield doesn't extend to content creators. The state tried to argue that Backpage fell under the latter category. Quote, that's the linchpin of the prosecution's case, Supervisory Deputy Attorney General Maggie Krell told Bowman during a November 16th hearing. Essentially, Your Honor, we will show that these defendants are content creators. Bowman ruled the state failed that test and actually showed that, quote, in fact, according to the exhibits attached by the people, Backpage moderators were instructed to look for offending material and remove it. Bowman concluded that the victimization resulted from the third party's placement of the ad, not because Backpage profited from the ad placement. While this is the first time the Texas-based company faced criminal prosecution, it has prevailed in similar civil legal disputes in other states. Harris' statement left open the door for an appeal. Quote, the Communications Decency Act was not meant to be a shield from the criminal prosecution for perpetrators of online brothels. The evidence is clear. These defendants are responsible for personally creating and publishing the content that was used to pimp and traffic victims on their website. It read, we will not turn a blind eye to the defendants' exploitative behavior simply because they conducted their criminal enterprise online rather than on a street corner. To all those who have been victimized by pimps online and trafficked through Backpage.com, you are not alone and the fight for justice is not over. The Sex Workers Outreach Project and other harm reduction groups opposed the Backpage prosecution, saying cracking down on sites like it does nothing to hold actual traffickers to account and forces vulnerable sex workers to the streets, where they're more likely to be victimized. Quote, people turn to sex work because of economic need and because some people are socially discriminated against. SWOP Sacramento member Kimberly Klein said during a press conference in front of the county jail last month, sex work is a source of survival for many people. And when we shut down sites like Backpage.com, we create more problems for the individuals we're most concerned about. The people who have the most economic vulnerability, who are the most vulnerable to violence. Quote, whatever we might think about prostitution and whether anyone should do it or not, we can agree that if we create laws that make it less safe for people to feed themselves, then we're not really protecting people, added Klein, who uses Backpage herself. The story rang true for a pregnant sex worker who identified as Monroe. During the same press conference, she said the Backpage case reminded her of what happened when the FBI and IRS raided MyRedBook.com 3 years earlier. Fighting through tears, Monroe said her pimp forced her to work the street, getting in and out of cars with men she didn't know and suffering his wrath when she didn't make enough. The street is also where she picked up a series of arrests for solicitation, which 3 years later she's still fighting to get expunged from her record so she can get a legal job. In August, she was fired from an airport job when her employer discovered her criminal history. Quote, when we get sites shut down, it's unsafe for us, she said. Harris' office didn't respond to questions about how much the multi-year effort has cost the state or answer charges that she knowingly pursued a losing case for the publicity it brought her during a successful Senate campaign. In an October 19th statement announcing their intent to file for dismissal, defendants Farrer, Larkin, and Lacey predicted the outcome and also leveled claims that Harris jailed them for political sport. Quote, make no mistake, Kamala Harris has won all that she was looking to win when she had us arrested, they wrote. So going back to this case that, the state of California brought, I'm curious to know how much that's going to cost taxpayers because this case, I've probably been following news on Backpage for a couple of years now, and state after state has tried unsuccessfully to get Backpage taken offline and for them to remove their adult services section. And it is because of that Communications Decency Act. They've never prevailed. Now, the users who are supplying that content are the pimps, or in some cases, the prostitutes themselves, because you have a lot of women who, during these tough economic times, have turned to sex work in exchange for making some money, and so they don't have a pimp, and they are doing this themselves. And so it does sound to me like the state was going after them, and this was a publicity stunt. I think that Kamala Harris should definitely face consequence, punishment, because that wasted, the taxpayers' money. And you knew that this case wasn't going to prevail. And you tried to say that they were the publishers of the content, but all they are is a website that provides outlet for people to publish on. So just like Craigslist, they had sex workers, and to a degree they still do. They talk in veiled language. They don't talk in money. They talk about roses, this type of stuff. So this was a waste of time, and Backpage again prevails. Nothing's been stopped here. But let me know what your thoughts on this are. If you're a user of Backpage, sex trafficking, all that stuff. Leave that down in the comment section below. The link to this will be in the description box. And as always, that's going to do it for this article and this video. I'll catch you in the next one.